And here we are on the quayside at Dublin, looking downstream to where the modern docks are now situated. And this orange thing is very interesting. It's a dockside diving bell that meant men could work underwater. 6 men climbed down the long breathing tube and then air was pumped down. Definitely not a job for the faint-hearted. At City Quay, here's a reminder of the old British and Irish Steam Packet Company. Oh, and there's also some lovely old dockside rails. Just across the Liffey is the replica of the Jeanie Johnston, and here the linesman celebrates the people who worked these docks. So let's go back up to Calatrava's Samuel Beckett Bridge and cross over to the north bank of the river. And here we will find a pair of Scursa rolling lift bridges. These huge old bridges form the entrance to the Spencer Dock and the Royal Canal. Now, the Royal Canal is significant as this was completed in 1817, and our railway journey will follow the canal closely all the way to Mullingar. At the far end of Spencer Dock is Luke Kelly, musician and founding member of the Dubliners, although to be fair on Luke, I've actually come for a closer look at the Sheriff Street lifting bridge. Right, let's follow that Lewis tram up Mayor Street to George's Dock and the railway station. We can cut down here past the old dock offices to the inner dock. This also gives us access to the south-east entrance to Connolly station. We're not going to go in just yet, rather we're going to use this entrance as an underpass to take us through to Amiens Street. And just along the way is the old company building of the Great Northern Railway, which now serves as the head office of Irish Rail. I've no time for a beer at Lloyd's today, so let's head back towards the station. And Connolly is a solid Italianate building which was opened in 1846. Few people now enter through this imposing westerly frontage, as the new Lewis station means people generally arrive from the southwest. Before we go in, let's make a short pilgrimage to find the man himself. So, a very good Sunday afternoon to you here in Dublin at Connolly Station. I hope you enjoyed that little walk around the kind of environs around Connolly and a little sort of look at Connolly itself. We'll have another look as we walk up for the train, because I'm here to catch a train out to the northwest of the country. I'm going to Sligo. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, let's crack on into the station and catch this train. As I was saying earlier, most people now enter Connolly through this southwestern portal, into a somewhat modern and rather soulless concourse. Still, there's a staff ticket office and a few shops and eateries, and one of those very clear blue Irish Rail departure boards. Well, for some reason my QR code doesn't work, but the staff member on the gate lets me in. And there's time to walk up to the other platforms before we catch the Sligo train. These are the through platforms for Dart and commuter services, and is also where I caught the train to Rosslare on a previous trip to Ireland. Right, that's a little nosy about. Let's head round to platform 1 for Sligo. And platform 1 means we have to walk up platform 2 past the Enterprise service that's due to head out to Belfast. We will be catching a pair of Class 22,000 InterCity Railcars, and that's no surprise as most regional services use these sturdy DMUs. And as you can see, the train only just fits into platform 1. There's not many people about as the train doesn't leave for over 15 minutes, so let's have a little walk through. I like the light and airy interiors, and the leatherette seat covers seem to be wearing well on every unit that I've travelled on. These units come with a decent amount of luggage space if you factor in the ample overhead racks and also the spaces that you can find behind the table seats. And in this coach there's also some bike storage available. Now, my reserved seat is a rear-facing airline style seat. Incidentally, you can select your coach and seat when booking, but there's no way of knowing what the direction of travel of the train will be on the day. Anyway, it's standard Class 22,000 fare with enough legroom for the average-sized bloke like me, a decent tray table, and 3-pin and USB power supplies. And of course, these rather comfortable seats. As always, I think these trains provide a good quality for what is really a regional rather than intercity service. And we can also take a moment to wave goodbye to the Enterprise as it beams people up to Belfast. You know, I do need to re-ride this service now that it is going to the new Belfast Grand Central terminus. Okay, it feels like it's time for a map. We'll leave Connolly with 2 quick stops around Dublin at Drumcondra and Broombridge before continuing on through Maynooth, Kilcock and Enfield. And then we'll arrive at the old junction station of Mullingar, which may one day become a junction station again, as the Island Rail strategy is talking about reopening that line to Athlone. After Mullingar, it's a final push through Edgeworthstown, Longford, Drummond, Carrick-on-Shannon, Boyle, Ballymote and Collooney before we finally roll into Sligo, having hopefully completed the 219-kilometre run in 3 hours and 13 minutes. A lot of this is single-track line, so let's just hope there isn't a late-running train coming the other way that messes us up. And we're straight out of Connolly over the Royal Canal and also the branches that used to head out to the dockside. And then we pass what must be the biggest cultural icon around here, Croke Park, which is both the main stadium for and the headquarters of the Gaelic Athletic Association. And with a capacity of 82,300, it's the largest stadium in Europe that isn't normally used for association football. It's been only 4 minutes travelling to get to Drumcondra, and it's also not far to Broombridge. Broombridge marks the end of the Lewis Green Line and it also has a major depot and maintenance facility. Hopefully we can now speed up a bit, but we'll have to see. A lot of these intercity trains get blocked by local commuter services until they get clear of Dublin's clutches. Maynooth is in fact a university town, and its 2 campuses make up a sizable chunk of the town. It's also where we have to say goodbye to double-tracked lines, so it's good to spy an incoming intercity service pulling up next to us. It's also the western terminus for most Dublin commuter trains, which is probably why there's one hanging around just beyond the station, maybe waiting for its next turn back to Dublin. And it's only a short hop to Kilcock, which is our last stop in County Kildare. And now's a good time to settle in for the ride, because we've still got about 2.5 hours to go. County Kildare soon rolls into County Meath and we come upon Enfield. Enfield Station opened in 1847 and immediately all passenger traffic to Dublin on the Royal Canal ceased. So, until the railway was extended, this became a transfer point between canal boats and the railway. Incidentally, Enfield Station actually closed in 1963 and was only reopened in 1988. All the while, we are now tracking the Royal Canal, which is sadly on the other side of this quite busy train, and we will continue to follow its route all the way to Mullingar. As we are following the canal route, there's little or no gradients, and so our InterCity Railcar can get up to some kind of speed, although it's still way short of its designed maximum speed of 100 miles per hour. At Mullingar, the old Midland Great Western Railway main line will curve off west towards Athlone, and the platforms for that line are still in evidence, and just maybe they will be reopened in future years. Just beyond the station, the line crosses the Royal Canal, leaving it to make its own way to Longford. Then we are treated to a lovely run along the shore of Loch Oul as we leave Mullingar behind. From Mullingar, the Midland and Great Western Railway continued building westwards, reaching Galway in 1851. And it is only then that the company turned its attention to this northwesterly line running towards Sligo. So it took until 1855 to extend the line to Longford, and they finally reached Sligo in 1862. And so we have crossed into County Longford, and the first stop here is Edgeworthstown, so named because the estate was owned by the Edgeworth family. However, I'd like to think that in a similar position I wouldn't be quite so presumptuous with the naming, although Hoovertown does have a ring to it. I was very surprised to read that Longford could be viewed as a commuter town, given that we are now 1 hour 45 minutes away from Connolly. However, as we pull into the station, there are commuter trains parked up. They're ready to form the 2 early stopping trains for Dublin at 05:38 and 06:12. That's really hardy commuting. From listening to the in-train announcements, I think this station is called Drummond. But do put me right on the correct pronunciation if I'm wrong. Just outside Drummond, the line crosses the already mighty River Shannon, and we press on near to the river towards Carrick. Carrick-on-Shannon has a lovely stone-built station which dates back to when the line was originally opened. Mind you, some of the goods yard buildings have not fared so well. There's a bit of a climb as we leave the Shannon behind on our way to Boyle. You know, it feels like we're nearly there, but there's still an hour to go. Indeed, somewhere along the way we've lost time, as when we get to Boyle we are now 15 minutes late. Beyond Boyle we eventually enter County Sligo. The landscape is finally becoming a little more hilly as the route turns to find a way through the high hills. There's no passing loop at Ballymote, so the old northbound platform with its large water tower now lies disused. I also think there must have been some waiting time scheduled at Boyle that we didn't actually use, because now we appear to be back on schedule. Crossing the Owenmore heralds our arrival into our final intermediate stop at Connolly. I had flown into Dublin from Exeter in the morning, so by now I was beginning to feel a little tired. So I'm pleased we're nearly at our destination in Sligo. Finally. Just before the station, the old line to Sligo Quay peels off to the left, and we will slide into Sligo station. And we've arrived pretty much on time, and our trusty Class 22,000s will form the last train of the day to Dublin at 19:05. Incidentally, I bought my single ticket a few weeks in advance and paid just €14.79 for the journey, which I think works out as a pretty good deal. And whilst I understand why the all-over roof has been removed, I can't help imagining just how wonderful it must have looked in its heyday. However, these days it's served by 8 trains to Dublin on a weekday and 6 on a Sunday. Stepping out, this grand terminus building still looks stately from the outside, and you need only go down a few steps to find the bus terminus too. I'm now going to head out across town to my hotel, so I'll catch up with you when I've checked in.
And welcome to the Riverside Hotel. It's a very nice run on the Irish Rail multiple units. However, with the sections of single track and the actual running speed when you're actually just barrelling along, it's really not fast, and therefore that's why it takes 3 hours and 15 minutes to get to Sligo, and it could take a lot longer if you're waiting for an incoming train. Luckily, we had a bit of recovery time. We slipped a little bit behind, but we caught it up, so we arrived into Sligo pretty much on time. Now, Sligo is very beautiful. I haven't really had a chance to spend too much time, but I'll leave you with a couple of closing shots in the night time when I just popped out to the shop. I'm now going to go downstairs, order some food and watch the NFL because it's Sunday night, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you so much for watching.